In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen.
Hello, beautiful friends. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Claudine.
And welcome to Shokran Very Much, the podcast. This week's episode is...
all about...
engineering.
Today, we're doing something different. Today we are going to talk about career because that's a problem almost all of us face. What do I want to do with my life? What am I going to do with my life? I want to do this. How do I do it? That's what we're going to talk about in the career series. And we're starting off with a popular Egyptian career, engineering. Yay! The engineers are excited. So we have two wonderful engineers on the podcast, so they can tell us all about engineering. With us today is
Michelle Boulos
and
Mike Iskander.
Yay! So it's very nice to have you guys on the podcast. We start every episode with an icebreaker, and since it's a career series, if you weren't an engineer, what would you do?
Whew.
I would.
Wow.
I know.
I love this question.
I
Okay, no, go for it.
I would do, like, when I was a little girl, I really wanted to open my own cupcake bakery.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
you know when cupcakes were really popular?
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know how to bake. I actually don't like baking, but I just think it would be so fun to, like, romanticize my life, kind of like Belle, and just, like, have my own bakery and, like, be friends with everyone in the village square. Or, like, I'd be a librarian or something. I don't know.
Everyone listening to the episode right now, you have to go on Instagram and look at this picture, because she's so pretty.
Thanks. Okay, so I actually don't have the answer to this question, but like I fantasize about like everything else but engineering.
But when you were a child, like, did you have some crazy one? Like when I was young,
I lived in the moment. Like I didn't really think about what I would be when I grew up.
So you decided in the moment to do the engineering that you do.
I thought it would be a dolphin trainer.
See?
I was
love
so set on
Can
that.
you imagine, like, and you get to wear, like, the giant boots and, like, feed
Yes.
the...
I feel like you'd never allow yourself to be seen in public in the giant boots, though.
Dude, watch me.
Yeah. I thought I'd be a stunt double maybe for a little bit.
Oh
Wait,
my
I
God.
see it.
Yeah, I see it.
Your insurance would be crazy.
Oh yeah.
I like how that's the first thing I think
I
of.
I was gonna say you'd make a great stunt double because you look like a lot of Egyptian actors I know.
Oh, I get that like every week. I have a very generic face. So, I like, but when it comes to like something else I could have done besides engineering, like I fantasize about like everything else, but then there's always like one thing that makes it so that I chose the right thing. So like, for example, like when it comes to like biology, like I understand it completely because honestly, the human bio at least is pretty much, we're just a gigantic machine that has much like smaller components to it. Like there's clearly a high level design to our bodies and every little part to it. But then it's like, okay, like that's fun, but like I'm not like, precise enough to like do surgery or something like that. So that's a no.
You could have been just like a physician.
You could have also just been, like, a straight-up scientist that works in a lab.
I'm not a gentle person,
Oh.
like period.
Wait, I do have a serious answer. I just completely forgot. But I would have been a lawyer.
Oh.
Okay.
Wait.
Yeah. Like, I think alternatively, I would have been a lawyer, and it was, like, something I was considering for a hot second in high school. And then I realized I liked engineering too much to give it up. Ever.
Wait.
I thought about physical therapy at first, and then I realized it was just too much school for not good enough pay. So
That's true.
therapy.
Now we just do less school for so pay.
yeah,
Yeah, it works out.
unless you're software.
I'm not software, so
Oh, you're electrical then, right?
I'm hardware.
Whoa, I never met an. Okay, that's interesting.
You're gonna learn today.
Wait, okay, so, like, imagine the Venn diagram, because my major was both electrical and computer science, so the Venn diagram of electrical engineering, computer science, I'm in, like, the sliver in between.
Interesting.
So it's, like, both.
That's
like,
very interesting.
there's a girl at my job that works the same exact thing that I do, but she's software. So it's, like, titles don't matter. I just refuse to call myself a software engineer.
Yeah.
Why do you refuse to call yourself a software engineer?
Because of the stereotypes that
That's
go along
okay.
with it.
So
I know
neither of
software
us?
engineers.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't. What's the stereotype?
In college, before I went, there was a meme page for Berkeley, and a lot of the memes were centered around people in my major. And so when I went, I assumed different stereotypes. The one that I'm comfortable sharing are they don't shower because they just spend all the time
Sorry.
no, it's hilarious. time doing homework that they don't even have time to get up and shower. So then,
Are
like,
you software?
No,
Okay,
but
good.
I played with the idea of it. I'll explain that later.
everyone plays with the idea of it at some point.
Yeah.
But I actually ended up showering like twice a day my first year of college because I was so paranoid. Like, literally, like, in my backpack, I had like perfume, I had like lotions, I had hand sanitizer, I had like 3 kinds of wipes. Always in my backpack. Like, I had people calling me like human CVS just because I was like, I refuse to be the stereotype. And then, like, obviously there's like the other ones that like they just assume that you're a male. Like, oh my god, female. And I think it was like 20% of women the year that I started were like in my major or whatever. So I was like, okay, I'm already defeating the stereotypes. I just need to make sure I shower.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you guys ever feel pressured to be engineers? Because I know Egyptians are. Egyptians.
No. Like, I actually laughed when I saw this question before you guys sent it, and I was just telling my mom, I think I was really blessed with parents that never pressured me. Like, they were always just like, you should find something that you like and make sure that you pursue it. Like, don't change your mind or whatever. The story of how I got into this in the first place is like a very weird, there isn't really a story, but no, I was never pressured. If anything, I think I pressured myself into doing engineering.
My parents are exactly the same. They've
Yeah,
always been like, whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
as long as it's logical.
And,
Yes.
and honestly, like, I think I surprised myself because I don't really know how I ended up here. And I think this is a really common question that I get from, like, sometimes my parents, they'll just come in my room and they're like, how did you end up here? And, like, I had aunts who've, like, seen me, like, play with, like, circuits and stuff. And they're like, so what, like, no one in the family does anything remotely close to this. Like, how'd you end up here? And I actually take it as, like, a badge of honor that, like, I do something kind of odd.
Yeah.
You know what? My memory's kind of blank because I just tuned out like everyone around me and just lived in the moment, like I said earlier. So like I know my parents wanted me to be like some ambitious like doctor or whatever. Actually, I do remember when I chose engineering as my major. My dad was pissed because he just wanted me to be a doctor, but like since I was already used to like tuning that out,
Yeah.
it didn't have any effect on me at all. So.
Does he still make those comments or no?
Like I think deep down they're always gonna wish that like I became a doctor probably, but like, well they see where I'm at right now and they're like, okay, this paid off, I guess.
Yeah.
And with a lot less debt, so.
So, what is your current job? So, engineering is an umbrella, and I hate it when I ask people, oh, so what do you do? And they go, oh, engineering. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, do you build buildings? Do you build computers? Do you draw things? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, that's like actually such a good point because I also get like that frustration, and I feel like it's like the answer that you give like to tons of uncles when you like don't know how much you want to like get into the conversation because you're like, oh my god, it's gonna be a whole thing if you sit there and explain it to them. So that's hilarious. That you say that.
Ladies first, 100%.
Okay.
So, wait, Mike's a feminist?
Yeah.
Mike's a
Everybody, I'm a
by
Coptic
the way.
feminist.
Anyway, I work as a hardware engineer. I get to build and design very large computer chips. I think a lot of people, when they think of computer chips, they think of like the ones that go in your phones or in computers. But there's lately, like in the tech field, you've probably been hearing these really big buzzwords like AI, like artificial intelligence, or crypto, or these things. And all of these processes, we associate them with software engineers. And they're very like computationally heavy, so there's a lot of math behind them. And in order to be able to do lots of math, you need to have computers that are capable of taking on that math. All of these buzzwords that you're hearing, there are lots of startups focusing on the software side and on the math and on the algorithms and all of these things. But just as many startups there are for the software side, there are also startups for the hardware side because you need to build chips that can handle these like computations, because you can't just like tell your basic like MacBook or like PC or whatever, like Windows PC, to do all of these mathematical computations. So you have to build something from scratch.
I'm right now working for Verizon as an equipment engineer. The term engineer is thrown around a lot in the professional world, and it typically just means you're a project manager or like you're a project engineer. Or it's not really like calculations engineering or anything like that. It's just like you have to understand like your system and work with it pretty much. So like for example with Verizon, like we're working like my team specializes in 5G upgrades for existing like cell towers, right?
I was gonna like say, wow, the conspiracy theorists are so
Oh yeah, there's
excited.
big fear. I actually don't know anything about that. That's not the part that I know about. So
Do you think there's conspiracy theorists in the Coptic Church?
Yes.
of course,
For sure. Really?
Like, I didn't hesitate. Yeah.
naturally.
Wow.
Wait, about
Absolutely.
what? What do you mean?
Like
There's a-
everything.
There's a theory that the holy fire in Jerusalem is not real, and there's a lot of videos on
Oh,
it.
but that's not really like a conspiracy. We're talking
Really?
like, does the deep state exist type of conspiracy.
Oh, I mean,
Area 51.
Yeah.
They're gonna shut down the podcast. It's
There's-
gonna go on
this.
there's certainly a Coptic underworld. Where, like only specific abunas are able to handle it. Like people's deep dark secrets
Yeah.
are like being handled by
No.
The confessions
You
just
you
flow.
don't play on the internet as much as you should. Like, you're not as chronically online as I
Yeah.
am, apparently. Like, we're talking like the deep state. Like, there's a secret government that is running all world governments that is one day going to overtake the world. Yeah.
Okay, let's-
Anyway,
Back to
let's not mention
engineering.
the deep state. When people say that they're like a project manager or like any of these fun things, that means they've made it in the engineering world. So,
you can say that,
congrats,
yeah.
Mike.
That's like the best thing that I've realized about engineering is that it sucks, and it's just not necessary in order to become one. Like you don't need a degree in order to become one. You could really work your way up.
Great.
I'll
no,
get into that later.
no, it's fine. This episode's supposed to give us both point of views.
Yeah.
So
Like, what she
I'm really
does-
glad you said that because I've never thought about that. You saying you could work up to it without the
Like
degree.
what I do, you can work up to it, but what she does, you definitely need an education for.
It depends.
So if you're like really serious about engineering like that, like of course you need an education for that. I just wasn't a fan of, because I'm a civil engineer, like I wasn't a fan of like structural integrity of buildings to the point where I wanted a PhD and I only wanted to stamp and like do calculations on stuff like that.
So what made you pursue engineering?
What made me want to pursue engineering? I don't have like a concrete answer to this. It's like very like, I liked math growing up. It sounds very cliche, right? I liked math growing up, but more importantly, I liked building things, right? Like I used to be obsessed with Play-Doh. I like went through like a Play-Doh phase where I would like just build stuff. I am still in a Lego phase like forever and ever. But I think the really pivotal moment for me was I went to a summer camp in like 7th grade and they had these different tracks and I got placed in this robotics track and it was just like magical for me. Like I got to learn how to code, I got to learn how to like light up an LED like by putting wires together, and I think that camp really like lit a spark in my brain of like, oh, this is really cool. And I had actually like a mentor for that week. The person that was like teaching us, she was a professor who happened to also be Middle Eastern, and like I know, you know, some people make fun of diversity or whatever, but it was really nice like seeing like this woman that kind of like looked at like me like doing these really fun things, and I thought her lab was like so magical. And so ever since then I kind of knew I just kind of wanted to be like her, and I wanted to do something with that. And then like from there I like did lots of camps in high school. I wasn't sure what kind of engineering I wanted to be, and then throughout high school I just kept doing like different summer camps and little side programs and side projects, and then I don't really know how I ended up picking my major, but here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one last thing. I'll add the disclaimer that my dad is also an engineer, but he's a civil engineer, so I was not
Oh, yeah, you
influenced.
told me that one time.
Yeah, I wasn't influenced. It
Calculus,
was
right?
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, I lived in the moment. I did not think about what I wanted to do in college. All I wanted to do was go to UCI. Like, that was my number one goal. Yeah. So once it was time to, like, apply, I at first wanted to do physical therapy, like I said, right? But I realized there was just too much school for not enough, like, benefit and whatever. But I was, like, thriving in physics. Like, I loved math my whole life. And I just, like, I loved it so much, but I didn't see like what it could be used for in the real world. And then when I took physics, I was like, this is like exactly what I was made for. So I was like, what can I do with physics? So like being a physicist doesn't really, like, you'd have to teach, right? And I'm like, I don't want to teach. So I was like, okay, I guess engineering is my move then. So then I picked civil engineering because that was like the closest thing to the physics I was taking at the time in high school, which was mechanics. Realistically, I should have chose mechanical engineering, but like whatever. It's like similar either way. Like there's still physics being calculated and stuff. So yeah, I just went with civil engineering and went to UCI.
Okay, so shout out Freddie from the last episode, but his episode was about showing Christ in the workplace. So how do you guys like show Christ in the workplace, or how have you like seen someone show Christ in the workplace, if you have?
So yeah, I struggled with that a lot in the beginning too, because I was honestly just treating work as work. Like, I was like, this is just a part of my life that just needs to get done. My 8 hours a day, go home and enjoy the rest of my day, go to sleep. I love the balance of life, like the 8 hours of work, the 8 hours of fun, and the 8 hours of sleep. So I didn't have a mentality of like, I need to be Christian at work. Like, I didn't join in on like any of the whatever conversations I was overhearing, or like any of like the stuff they would do after work or during work or whatever. But I wasn't there to like show them Christ necessarily either. I was kind of just there. And like they could tell I was Christian, but like they weren't like interested in anything. And I'm not saying you have to like rope people or anything like that, but like all I'm saying is that I didn't really show like much love, you could say, in the beginning like of my career. And then over time, like after you start to realize how broken the people in this world are, like you have no idea until you start working with them. Like their interests, they just add misery to misery with everything they do, it seems. At least in the engineering world and the construction world, because I've been in both. And like once you realize how broken people are, like something in you, like the empathy in you just starts to activate a little bit more. I guess that's kind of how I can describe it. And then you start to like, you become a lot less judgmental, I'd say, because when you see like the backstory as to why people are acting the way they are, you know. And so after realizing like these people just really need to know who God is, because they really don't know who God is, it makes you want to be more like him so that they can see him, right? So, and I'm not saying I'm good at this yet. I work remote now, by the way, so like I don't even get a chance to like serve anymore, you could say. But in previous jobs I've worked at, like especially in like construction where you're like a lot of it's like hands-on. I was doing some project management in construction as well. Like I don't know, like at some point I started realizing like just the fact that I want the best for these people is like doing something by itself. Mm-hmm. It's hard to describe or explain, but like once that empathy activates in you for the people around you, like it just activates Christ as well.
Yeah, I don't have as like nice of an answer. I work remotely, so the social element of work is like not there. But I think for me, it's as simple as like when I turn on my camera, I have my icons behind me. I actually had a conversation with a friend one time of like, should I not? But it's actually a really nice conversation starter. I've had people in the past ask me like, oh, are you Catholic? Are you Orthodox? Whatever. When they see like the icons, they're like, oh, wow, they're so beautiful, or anything like that. And then even as simple as like telling my coworkers like, oh, I have to take the day off on January 7th. And they're like, naturally, they're like, oh, why? What are you doing? You know, we'll talk about each other's vacation plans. And so then when I explain to them, actually, I'm Coptic. We have like a second Christmas.
Sorry.
Yeah.
One time the VP of my company I worked at literally asked me like, so did like Christ like die a second time for you or something like that? Because our Good Friday is always like the week after.
Oh.
And I was like, no, actually, if he died for the first time for somebody, it would be me, not you, because our calendar is more correct. So. Yeah, sorry.
That was so good.
You can keep going.
Such a good answer.
It's like our calendar came first.
Yeah.
We're before you. What year is it in the Coptic calendar? It's like
1739.
No way, you just know that?
I
That's
only
so cool.
remember that because
yeah, like what?
2 years ago it was 1738 and everyone was making the...
Oh.
And so, yeah, now we're going to 1740, which is a cleaner number, I guess.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so this is kind of a very vague question. What was your educational journey like? I can make it like smaller questions, make it easier.
Narrow it down.
Did you have a good like school life balance?
No.
Thank you.
She was always studying.
No.
I definitely did.
Oh.
Did you graduate? No.
That's the thing.
I'm joking. I'm sorry.
No, me graduating was a miracle. Like,
Are you gonna graduate?
it's a testament to God completely, 100%.
So actually, so I went to Berkeley for undergrad, and
Which is crazy, by the way.
Yeah,
Berkeley for undergrad is a crazy sentence to say.
yeah.
It was a little easier at our time than your like
No, that's true.
it was still hard, you know, but
But because Berkeley, like, there aren't a lot of Coptic kids that go to Berkeley. So this year we happened to have, I think it was 7 Coptic kids graduate from Berkeley Engineering. This was like the year after I graduated, so last May. And I flew up for their graduation because I was like, oh, it's very convenient, 7 different people. And we actually had like the Abunas come. Like we had Abunas come for my graduation. Actually, Abuna Gregory flew out and surprised me for my own graduation. But like last year it was cute because there was like 7 people, not just me. It was like 7 people and we had all these tons. And it was just like so much fun. Like, this was a really poorly told
or no?
story. No, but at my graduation, I invited some tons to come, and I brought them like tickets. And one of them, she was like, "Istani, and hamlik zakhrudat Wait, but it was funny.
Not a good thing to do in a public place like that.
Oh my
At
god.
my cousin's graduation, they got a tabla.
That's like more acceptable.
Yeah,
but like
there-
screaming like a Muslim.
No, there was a Palestinian family sitting behind us because like all us Cots like sat like one place in the stadium, but there was a Palestinian family behind us with tabla, and one of the boys was like, "Oh my god, I should go borrow the tabla and like try to do something for when they go up on stage." It was great.
I had the most amazing work-life balance because I didn't go to class at all. Like, so that's the thing. Don't do like me if you want to be good at school. After 2 years, I did an internship, right? Like because you're supposed to intern after 2 years of engineering. Like that's what everybody does. So I just applied all over the place. And I got an internship at a telecommunications project management company. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into at all. Like I thought it was engineering because they know I'm an engineer. It took me like a whole internship to realize at the end that like, this is project management. This isn't engineering. And I realized like this is way more my thing than engineering is. So then going back to school, and it's like my junior and senior year, which are like the 2 hardest years because that's when you're taking all your upper divs. Like I decided to still try. There is stigma that like engineers' grades don't matter that much. I like to study on my own personally already. Like it's not that I don't study. It's that like I like to teach myself stuff. I don't like to like show up and like have somebody else like teach me. Like I like to do my own research and like look up solution manuals for stuff. And by the way, Chegg was like my savior. Like Christ
Shout out
manifested
Chegg.
himself to me through Chegg. Like you have no idea. Like I can't even tell you. Like if it wasn't for Chegg, I wouldn't be here today.
To current college students, please don't do that.
Chegg was the best learning tool I ever used. Because I didn't use it just to pass my homework. I used it to like study like the solutions that they because they worked through the problems like for each problem.
So you paid for Chegg?
So I used to like SOS help like post on Facebook like, does anybody have a Chegg account? This is how you see God's hand through everything. But anyway, the questions on Chegg are not word for word. Like yes, it's the same question, but they tweak the numbers and everything like that. So it's not the exact. You're not getting the exact answer to everything from Chegg. You're watching how they work through it and then using the numbers you have, right? Like all the variables you have, and then working through it the same way they did.
So at Berkeley, some professors used to purposely upload the wrong solutions onto Chegg because they knew students would be looking them up. And so it was a really easy way for them to like flag students' homeworks like and projects. They would like upload them on Course Hero and Chegg. And like in this syllabus, they would like explicitly say like, do not look them up on Chegg or Course Hero. Interesting. And so they used to like I've definitely heard stories.
Well, so that's
why I like when you say Chegg, I'm like, oh, LOL. Like, how did your?
That's what I'm trying to say though, is that like what I took from Chegg was the solution, not the actual answer. Like how like the way to
like
work
the process.
Yeah, like because
That's
there's
so
steps
funny.
to each like problem you're working through in engineering.
That's
Yeah, so Chegg was pretty much my teacher. My saving grace and everything. Don't follow me is what I'm trying to say. I enjoyed my college time, but not everybody should follow the same path.
Shokran very much for listening to part 1. I hate to do this to you, but you will have to wait till next week to hear the rest of it.
Shokran very much for listening.
And we'll see you next week.